charged with voting under the influence. ABC's Rihanna Nally says 5 people were killed in the crash Saturday.
9 people total were on board the boat, traveling in opposite directions when they collided. Among those dead, 4 members of the same family.
A witness says one of the boats appeared to be speeding. A climber has been killed and 2 others were hurt in a rockfall and avalanche in Rocky Mountain National Park. A Colorado National Guard helicopter rescued a man and woman yesterday during a break in the weather. The park's search and rescue team found the body of the missing hiker yesterday afternoon. Ukrainian President Zelensky has gone to see troops on the front lines in eastern Ukraine. He made the trip yesterday from Kyiv as Ukrainian forces launched a counteroffensive against Russian forces. The president's office says Zelensky presented troops with awards and gifts. It's his first appearance outside Kyiv since the war started 3 months ago.
His exploits are legendary.
Tom Cruise has earned his first $100 million domestic opening weekend. Top Gun Maverick is projected to make $151 million by the end of the holiday weekend. That is very close to the Memorial Day weekend record holder, Pirates of the Caribbean, at World's End. That one made $153 million. The cruise film reportedly cost $170 million to make. Checking your KFI financial report. Now, the markets are closed today, but I do have the average price of a gallon of unleaded gas in California. That is $6.15, and your report is brought to you by Sweet James Accident Attorneys.
If you're hurt in an accident, call the attorneys at Sweet James, 800-500-5200.
SoCal weather from KFI. Looks like it's going to be a warm day today. Temperatures are just going to be in the mid-60s at the beaches. We'll be in the mid-70s for Metro LA and OC. Upper 70s, low 80s for the valleys in the IE. Little bit warmer tomorrow, and by Wednesday and Thursday, inland highs should be in the 90s. Let's get a look at that drive now on the 91.
You betcha, going through well-planned parking towards Cerritos, out to the west. Westbound 91 at Carmenita. If you're planning on getting off the freeway at Carmenita, getting a lot of reports about a lot of pedestrians walking around the off-ramp, on the road surface and off. So just be careful. Now, the 91 itself is in pretty good shape this morning, as are most freeways. LA, Orange, and everybody's doing pretty well. But the 91 are all clear from the I-5 over to the 110. No, not a problem. A continuing problem that is starting to cause some backups now, so be careful. Seal Beach, southbound 605 at Willow, just before you get down to the 405. Right lane's been blocked all morning. It's starting to back up through Cerritos Avenue. Use the Cerritos Avenue off-ramp because Willow is still blocked as well as the right lane there. But get off at Cerritos before you get down there. It'll save you a whole bunch of time. After that, pretty good down to the 405, even the 22 and South 405 into Orange County. It's all looking pretty good. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Jeff Baugh.
This hour of the Bill Handel Show is brought to you by WDC Kitchen and Bath Center. Find the biggest selection of appliances and fixtures in Southern California at WDCappliances.com, WDCappliances.com.
My name is Anthony Tremino, and I approve this message.
Gavin Newsom has held public office for over 25 years. Do you feel safer? Do you like what's being taught in our public schools? Is this the California you want to hand over to your kids? Anthony Tremino is not another politician. He's a businessman, father of 5, and grandson of an immigrant who fled communist Cuba to pursue the American dream. On June 7th, vote Anthony Tremino for governor. This isn't about politics. It's about a better future for our kids. Paid for by Anthony Tremino for governor 2022.
1877 cars for kids. KARS cars for kids. 1877 cars for kids. Donate your car today.
With gas prices at all-time highs, now's the time to donate. Running or not, your car can be picked up as soon as the next day. Donate your car today at carsforkids.org.
1877 cars for kids. Donate your car today.
Injured? There's only one firm to know. It's OPO. Go to opolaw.com.
KFI.
More stimulating talk.
An iHeart radio station.
KFI Am 640, live everywhere on the iHeart app. It's the Bill Handel Show. Bill will be back tomorrow. He's off for the Memorial Day holiday. Some of the stories we're watching for you here at KFI. The Justice Department is going to review the law enforcement response to the Texas school shooting. This is through a voluntary program that they run designed to assist law enforcement agencies in refining their practices. It is not a punitive kind of intervention on the part of the Department of Justice. LA County's bought $750,000 worth of baby formula, and as soon as it arrives, they will hand it out at food distribution sites and outreach programs for new mothers. And for $29.99 a month, you can get an account with a website called PIM Eyes, P-I-M Eyes, like your eyeballs. And it's very science fiction-y, except it's happening now. Here's what you can do. You sign up for your account, you upload a photo of your face, you agree to the terms of service, and then it will give you all the results of faces that it thinks are the same as your face. And it will give you the links to where these photos appear on the internet. Because obviously, it can't possibly access old photos that you have, that you printed out on photo paper that are in your house. It can't access any photos on your phone that you have not uploaded to the internet. It's not that magical. But you might be shocked and disconcerted to find out how many photos there are of you out there on the internet. And this is even more amazing to me because PIM Eyes is for, quote, ordinary people like you and me. You've heard of Clearview AI. That's a facial recognition tool. It does essentially the same thing, except PIM Eyes does not have social media site results in its database. Clearview AI does. PIM Eyes is not specifically marketed to law enforcement agencies. Clearview AI is. So my point is, PIM Eyes, and I'm going to tell you some things that are scary. PIM Eyes is less capable and less scary than Clearview AI. All right. How do we know what it can do? Well, the New York Times got 12 of their journalists to agree to test it. So they put up their photos, they looked for the results, and holy smokes were they surprised. One reporter received a result of a photo of them dancing at some museum event 10 years before. Also, this reporter, when they got engaged, they had a photographer come out and take photos as you do. And there was a photo that came out of it that she didn't really like. Okay, she didn't like this particular photo. She was crying after being proposed to, and she didn't like the photo. She didn't have the photographer give her prints of that photo. The photographer had decided, though, to use that photo on Yelp to help advertise his business. And so when she put her face into PIM Eyes, up comes this photo of her crying, a photo that she probably hoped she'd never see again, didn't want anybody else to see, but there it is. One of the New York Times tech reporters got a result of a photo of him in a whole group of people at Coachella. And not just at Coachella also about 10 years ago. One of the New York Times foreign correspondents showed up in a bunch of wedding photos, but also, and this is where it really gets scary, somebody took a photo of somebody else at an airport in Greece in 2019. This reporter was in the background, just happens to be in the background of this photo. The background's kind of blurry, but PIM Eyes was able to match the photo of his face that he put in there with this photo. So you think there's not a lot of pictures of you on the internet, but you don't have control sometimes over whether there are pictures of you on the internet or not. And especially when you realize that you could be in a big group of people at an event, or you could be in the background of a photo that never was intended to have anything to do with you, and now it's part of a database. And somebody else searching for your face will get these photos. Now you might feel like, well, I got nothing to worry about. I haven't done anything bad or anything. I'm fine. Although there are a lot of people who were at the Capitol on January 6th who probably felt like they weren't doing anything wrong. And now they found out they're in big trouble. And how did law enforcement identify them? This kind of thing. Although I'm sure the FBI was using Clearview AI, but it's the same kind of technology. And you don't have to be an insurrectionist for your stuff to show up where you don't want it. So who's behind this Pim Eyes? It's probably some evil, dark web person. Well, no, you know what it is? It's a professor guy. And his name is Georgi, I don't know if I'm going to say this last name right, Gabronids. And he's an academic. He's been interested in advanced technology for quite some time. And he is from the Republic of Georgia, and he's particularly concerned because, of course, Russia, invaded Georgia, and Russia has been doing cyber attacks on Georgia. And he says that he bought this company, Pimite. He didn't create this company, but he bought it and owns it now. He thought of it as a tool that people can use to help manage their online reputation. So remember that woman from the New York Times and that engagement photo showed up on Yelp, but she didn't like it. She could now contact that photographer and say, please take that photo down. See, it's a force for good. Now, you're only supposed to search for your own face or the face of someone who has specifically consented, but there's no real way to police that. And the owner of this company says he's relying on people to be ethical about it. There's nothing to actually stop somebody from putting your picture up there and getting all these other pictures of you, which means, in essence, whether this is what the company wants to be, it is stalkerware. It's the perfect tool for a stalker to use. I guess they'd be violating the terms of service by using it that way, but there's nothing to stop them from doing it. Here's the other thing. There was a woman, a computer engineer, who tried this service and found some photos from an audition that she did when she briefly considered working in the pornography industry, which she did not pursue because the audition itself she found to be very upsetting and humiliating. She didn't do it. However, photos ended up on the internet, and she found them when she used PimEyes, and so she wanted to get them taken down, and she discovered that in order to be able to do all of these things, you have to pay for a very expensive subscription plan, anywhere from $89.99 to $299.99 a month, which she feels is a kind of extortion. Although the owner of the company said, that's not how we want it to operate. We do have a free tool that you can use, although we don't really promote it the same way we promote the paid subscriptions. And he did show the media a receipt showing that he had refunded this woman the $299.99. So that's out there, in case you are starting to think about where there might be pictures of you on the internet. All right, let's get some news from Jennifer Jones-Lee. And then when we come back, you don't want housing built in your neighborhood, but your city's got to put housing in there. In fact, in California, it's the law. There's a new tool out that seems to solve this problem very nicely. This is KFI AM 640, live everywhere on the iHeart app. And now, Jennifer Jones-Lee live from the KFI 24-hour newsroom.
A lawmaker in Texas says President Biden is considering demolishing the school where 19 students and 2 teachers were killed last week. State Senator Roland Gutierrez told a local radio station Biden told him the government will look into razing the school and building a new one. Several events today honor fallen soldiers in the Inland Empire. There's a ceremony at the Riverside National Cemetery. Another takes place in Moreno Valley at 11, and fallen soldiers will be honored at Freedom Courtyard in Rancho Cucamonga. And K-pop sensations BTS are in Washington, D.C. They've got a big meeting this week. They showed up in D.C. yesterday and are meeting with the president at the White House tomorrow. Your SoCal weather from KFI. It's a sunny day ahead. Temperatures just from the mid-60s to the mid-80s. This report is brought to you by GimmeTheVin.com. Let's take a look at your drive on the 405.
Yep, a little bit of a problem now going through Carson. Northbound 405 at Wilmington. That's about a halfway point between the 710 and the 110. Tires, and a lot of tires is the calls that CHP is getting, and a few drivers have hit them, so please do be careful. A little bit north of there in West LA, northbound 405, the Venice off-ramp shutting down due to a vehicle fire, a car fire. CHP and the fire department's responding. And just in case you can't attend any of those events that Jen was talking about, just take a private moment, say thank you to all those men and women that served our country, and just say thank you. Just take a private moment. It works. It'll make you feel better, too. KFI in the Sky helps get you there faster. I'm Jeff Baugh.
When was the last time you had your house checked for termites? Yeah, exactly. One call to Pacific Coast Termite will get you a free home inspection. And even if you don't think you have termites, it's worth the phone call to make sure that you do have termites. Easy to treat. They do it without tenting. You can even be home when they do their job. And listen, me tell you, I've tented before. It's a nightmare. Or they'll tell you you don't have termites, which is great news. Mention KFI, get 10% off termite treatments, a 2-year guarantee on their work. And I have been a customer of Pacific Coast Termite for probably 10 years or more. Call 800-PACIFIC, 800-PACIFIC. Visit PacificCoastTermite.com. That's PacificCoastTermite.com.
Pacific Coast Termite, kills termites.
The clean, friendly way.
If you want to sell your ride, I'd do it now. All you got to do is go to GimmeTheVin.com, put in your license plate number, put in the miles, attach a couple of pictures, and we'll get it rolling.
Sell us your car. GimmeTheVin.com. So easy you can do it in your underwear.
This report is sponsored by ExpressPros.com. If your summer plans include a new job, let Express Employment Professionals help. Visit ExpressPros.com for good local jobs in a variety of roles. With 850 locations, your local Express team is ready to help you find your next job. Go to ExpressPros.com.
Californians have worked really hard to beat COVID-19 by doing the things we know work best, like getting vaccinated and boosted, testing before and after travel, staying home when feeling sick, and wearing a mask when it can protect us and others. Let's continue to do our part to keep each other safer from COVID-19. When we work together, there's nothing we can't overcome. Learn more at covid19.ca.gov. Brought to you by the California Department of Public Health.
We're in a drought, so it's time to go that extra mile to save water. Try using a broom instead of a hose to clean hard surfaces, like your driveway. This is how we save water. For water-saving tips and rebates, go to BeWaterWise.com.
We've got your new AC, and we're ready to install it. Kenny anticipated those supply chain problems and built a bunch of new ghetto systems before the prices jumped up.
Buy a new ghetto today, and we'll install it tomorrow.
Ghetto, G-O-E-T-T-L.
On abortion and guns, the leading candidates for California Attorney General are very different. Eric Early is a conservative Republican, pro-Trump, pro-guns, and pro-life. Democrat Rob Bonta is fighting the NRA and supports abortion rights. If you care about Roe v. Wade, remember to vote early before the June 7th election for Attorney General. Ad paid for by Communities for Justice, supporting Rob Bonta for Attorney General 2022. Committee major funding from California Correctional Peace Officers Association. Not authorized by a candidate or committee controlled by a candidate.
Intuit is helping students go from classrooms to careers. Right here in LA, Intuit's Job Readiness Program empowers students with real-world financial literacy and entrepreneurial skills. Learn how Intuit is helping students in LA at intuit.com/jobreadiness.
I get it. Nobody wants to make this decision. Makes everybody uncomfortable to say out loud what we have to do.
We've heard this debate for decades now. Nobody's coming up with a new idea. There is no new idea.
There's nothing you can do to stop this unless you take the person who's on the cusp of committing evil and lock him up before he actually shows up.
And we got to get people that see this crap on social media to report them.
John and Ken, weekdays at 2 on KFI.
I just wanted you to watch me go slowly.
KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeart app. Good morning. A respectful Memorial Day to you. It's a Bill Handel show. He is off. He'll be back tomorrow. California has a law on the books that requires cities to plan for housing growth. which is surprising to learn. It was kind of, to me, because you hear story after story about, well, you know, they wanted to build apartment buildings over here, and then the residents all got together and they said, hell no, we're not going to have it, and it killed the project. And if you talk to housing advocates, they will tell you one of the biggest challenges to getting more affordable housing is where the cities won't build enough housing, because every time they float the idea for a new housing project, it gets shut down by the NIMBYs. And so to find out that actually all of these cities have to have a general plan for the growth of the city, and within that general plan, they have to have a housing plan that specifically deals with where and how will you build more housing. So what do you do when nobody wants the housing near them, but cities are required to have these plans and at least on paper say this is where we will build more housing? Here's what you do. And it's pretty ingenious. Because right now, you have a neighborhood, you're in a city, the city's growing, they want to build some more housing, you all get together, all you have to do is say no. I mean, it's not quite that simple, but all you have to do is fight it, and you can shut it down. Here's what you don't have to do. And here's what the NIMBY people don't have to do. And I'm going to be saying NIMBY people, and that's going to sound like I'm being pejorative, but, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I understand completely why you don't want more dense housing where you live. I don't want it. I don't want it. You think I want the housing density in my neighborhood to increase, and that brings more traffic, and particularly in like a city of LA where they can't do anything right anyway? Do I think they'll build more dense housing and increase traffic and then do something to mitigate the increased traffic? No, I do not. So I actually have a ton of sympathy for people who do not want this housing to be built near them. On the other hand, I have never had to weigh in on, okay, I don't want it in my neighborhood, where should it go? And I've never had to work with other people like me to reach some kind of a consensus in my city about where this housing will go, which the law requires. And there comes Balancing Act. Balancing Act is it's the name of a simulation. It's basically a software thing and a database and a simulation that lets residents participate in the process of deciding how the city will make the state required targets for housing growth. Because it's one thing to say, all I have to say is don't build it here. And it's another thing to be able to have a hand in where it will be built. And as you might imagine, if my neighborhood doesn't want it, your neighborhood doesn't want it, well, and the other neighborhoods don't want it, there's going to have to be some kind of a consensus reached. So Balancing Act was founded in 1998, and it uses technology to improve public policy facilitation, and that part seems a little dry and boring, but it's really, it allows ordinary residents to have a say directly in not just where we won't allow you to build, but where you should build. And therefore, it lets cities come up with viable plans, which makes it a pretty good idea. And it's been in use already, more up in Northern California than Southern California so far. But here's a little test case, if you will, the city of Elk Grove, which is near Sacramento. And they took this Balancing Act tool, they turned it into a website,